I don't know how any of this happened, even though I read a demonic book and then immediately got attacked. Like, you're a fucking moron!
World Heavyweight Champion, baby! This thing is effing heavy. I just want you to know. This thing is 9 pounds. It's fucking heavy.
Is it? I'm assuming it's not real leather, but it's real metal. I would assume if it's 9 pounds.
It's the replica you can get from WWE.shop. So it's
for about $10,000.
I don't want to say what I spent for it. I did get a deal on it, but I don't want to say what I spent on it. I can tell you what the original price was if you really want to know.
Did you buy it secondhand or did you buy it from the store?
No, I bought it from the store. I bought it at a discount deal during 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
But the original price was like $600.
Honestly, not as bad as I thought. If it's real metal and for $600, I hope it's real leather. Then
it's real metal. I don't know how. I mean, it's good quality leather. I don't know if it's real leather. But you know, it's for display purposes mostly, and I'm going to try to get it signed. But fun show and tell on the Nerdy Nimrods podcast to start this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, hello, Brandon. We've got some very important things to talk about. Emmy's nominations dropped. I haven't seen any of these. I have not looked at any of them, mostly because I've kind of been like the thing with award shows and me are just very specific because now I just think that they're just all stupid.
Correct.
It's all really dumb. Like some wins are justified and I acknowledge it, but like I feel like since like 2019, and you could make the argument that earlier that the award shows have just become completely stupid and it's not even so much about the actual goodness of the film anymore. It's just about like, oh, this is, you know, what people want to see, so whatever.
Well, and one of the biggest problems that, especially with the Oscars, and I'm not as well versed in the Emmys as I am the Oscars. In fact, I was caught off guard when the Emmys were announced because, mind you, and we'll talk about this, we're only halfway through the fucking year, and yet they're saying the 2026 Emmys. Brother, it's July. We just hit the halfway point of 2026. Why are we having the 2026 Emmys? Anyways, we'll get to that a little later. But one of my biggest problems with like the Oscars is you have to campaign to even get nominated. And then once you're campaigned to get nominated, it's like campaigning for a fucking government office. You're spending a bunch of money and you only win if you campaign. That's stupid because here's the thing I want to point out. Campaigning for an office, the reason you campaign for an office is because it's voted on by the people. People vote on our government figures in the United States of America. The Oscars, people don't vote on. It's a committee. You're paying money to campaign to a group of snobby assholes.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
It's fucking It's ridiculous. I straight up don't understand why people do it. I don't. Now, that being said, I am very glad, and this is like semi-off topic, this happened like a few weeks ago, but it wasn't like big enough news to talk about, is I did hear Indy Navarrete is going to be campaigning for an Oscar. Correct. It's a limited budget. I think they even like said the number is like $27,000 or something like that, which mind you is like a car. That's like a full-on car. I'm car shopping right now. I could buy a car for that.
Yeah.
Just to win a stupid Oscar. And yeah, I get it. It carries name and it carries weight and it carries prestige. But like, honestly, every year I feel like the general public, including ourselves, we're very outspoken against award shows. We both very much hate award shows. It holds less and less weight to the point to which like, yeah, we're talking about it. I don't like, well, it's so difficult because here's the thing. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about the Emmys this year is not because of who was nominated. It's for who's not nominated and what's not nominated. We'll start out with this. No one from House of the Dragon can get nominated because the show is still airing. But this is the 2020. And if you want to say, oh, well, they're just hosting it late. No. You want to know what is nominated? Night of the Seven Kingdoms, The Boys final season, things like that, which released months ago, are nominated. So we're not talking about like, oh, well, they're just having like the Crunchyroll Awards, for instance. They'll host the award show like April, March period, which is like a pretty good chunk of the year into 2025 or 2026, but it'll only be talking about things that released in 2025. I think that's stupid. I think that's way too late in the game, but at least they still keep it contained to a singular year.
Yeah.
The Emmys is saying the 2026 Emmys. That is the advertisement of the Emmys. House of the Dragon, which was releasing right now, and we literally last week spoke about how there are multiple actors and actresses who should be nominated for Emmys. Now, maybe they can get nominated next year, but I want to remind people, that's a year from now. We will have another 1,000 TV shows and 1,000 performances and thousands of actors perform between now and then.
Yeah.
How is that fair?
That's just how it goes. But also, again, with the award shows, this is why it's stupid. You're getting heated over it. This is why I don't pay attention to it, because it's just so stupid to look at and understand. And
no, I agree.
Kind of go off of a point you made earlier, and this isn't even just about the Emmys, but like Indy. How do you say your last name? Narvaretti.
Indy Navarrete.
Navarretti. I don't know how to say her name.
It's Navarrete, but
great actress. I'm so sorry. Your name is impossible to pronounce. Being honest, there. She will probably not get nominated for the Oscars, even if she campaigns. And the only reason I say that is because the Academy itself doesn't acknowledge most of the time horror films. It's why something like, even though I loved Nosferatu, never was going to like get nominated in any big category beyond, I think, like, I know it got like the scenic design. I know it got nominated for that at the very least. There's like they don't acknowledge horror films, so I feel like just on that stance alone, she's probably not even going to get anywhere close to nominated. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
I'm going to add an addendum to your statement, because you're mostly true, but you're kind of also a little bit not true. They'll nominate horror films if someone they like made it. If a big-name actor or a big-name director... Frankenstein got nominated for a ton of awards last year. But you know why? Because the people behind it were big honchos in Hollywood.
Okay.
That's just how it works.
Kind of a bad example, because Frankenstein also... I don't know if you ended up watching it. Frankenstein was really, really good.
No. I'm not saying Frankenstein wasn't good, but you also just made the argument with Nosferatu... also not getting nominated for most things that it deserved to get nominated for.
Correct.
And that was also very, very good.
And in my mind, it's significantly better of a film, too. But yes, continue.
Exactly. So it being good has nothing to do. I'm not saying Frankenstein isn't good. I'm just saying a movie being good has nothing to do with it winning or getting nominated. Evidence, in fact, by the other rant I want to go on. Carson, what's a show that you love, absolutely love? It's been airing for about 10 years. It ended recently. What's that show?
I'm going to guess you're talking about Stranger Things.
No, I'm actually not. It's a little unknown show that had its season finale this year. We talked about it on this podcast. The Boys.
Oh,
You want to know who didn't get nominated for a single Emmy? An actor who has been touted as one of the best actors of our generation. An actor put up there with Heath Ledger's Joker and many other performances that people consider to be the best performances of all time. This man has pulled off a generational performance for a decade on television. And not only did he not get nominated this year, he has never been nominated for a supporting role or a leading role ever in his life. Carson, if you want a reason to disrespect the Emmys, we weren't even that big of fans of the final season of The Boys, but we sat on this podcast and said, verbatim, Anthony Starr deserves an Emmy for this performance. He is giving a generational performance, even in arguably the worst season of the show. He is still carrying that show on his fucking back, giving a performance that no one can rival, or very few can rival. Yeah. And yet you're going to sit here and tell me that 3 actors from The Pit got nominated for supporting. I'm not disrespecting The Pit whatsoever. That's half the nominations to a single fucking television show.
Yeah. And another
what
snub,
are we doing here?
Well, and another snub that I'm seeing, and I've seen a lot of people complain about this one. And again, I haven't started the show. I've really wanted to watch it because I know it's going into its final season. But Jeremy Allen White. I don't know where.
Jeremy Allen White.
I was right. Jeremy Allen White didn't get nominated for The Bear, and he's been nominated for like every season except this one, and nothing changed. Like the show's still phenomenal. Apparently,
I did hear that this was its weakest season. I have never seen a season of The Bear, so I can't speak on that. But here's the difference with that. You just said he's been nominated other years. This is the last chance Anthony Starr had to be nominated for an Emmy for a generational performance.
Wasn't even nominated.
Generational performance, Carson. He wasn't even nominated. I don't even give a shit if he wins.
No,
I don't.
Well, honestly, I based on like some people and some performances we're gonna get this year, I would highly doubt that he wins. Like again, I know The Pit's supposed to be a really good show, and that the performances in that are outstanding. I've heard that.
I'm not disrespecting, but half the nominations.
Yeah. Why do we need half of them? Yeah.
I simply don't get it. I simply don't understand how this is allowed and why people like. Oh, cool. Well, you're still talking about it. Yeah, I like to talk about things. We both like to talk about things. I like to fucking shit on things.
Yeah.
Because I'm not giving them credit. I'm not giving them airtime. I'm shitting on them and actively telling you not to watch or support the Emmys. That is what I am talking about. I am saying, and here's the other problem with this, Carson, that I want to point out that I don't think the Emmys realizes, but especially within the eyes of the people, when you don't even nominate people that the general public all agree, almost universally agree, is a generational actor, and you don't even nominate them, what does that say about the value of your award? If you can't even recognize greatness, I mean no disrespect. This is outside of the actor's hands. Again, I mean no disrespect to any actor who has been nominated or won an Emmy. That is not on you. This is on the Emmys and the Academy that votes on the Emmys. But the problem with this is you devalue your award every single year, and it means less and less and less when you have performances and shows and people who deserve these awards, definitively deserve these awards, or at least these nominations, and you don't even give them the time of day because it's a superhero show, maybe. That's the thing. They nominated A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I think literally the second or third, it got nominated, one of the top nominated shows. Incredible show. Incredible show. I'd put it above the final season of The Boys for sure. But I'm going to sit here and tell you not a single thing in that show, not a single performance in that show was better than not a single performance I've watched nearly in the last decade is as good as Anthony Starr's.
And he, again, generational performance. And I think that they definitely messed up with deciding that. And it's funny because you would think that, oh, well, maybe it's because, you know, they didn't nominate the show. No, they nominated the show in other aspects. So it's not like it wasn't in
total nominations.
It's not like it wasn't in consideration. It's just he wasn't in consideration. And I kind of want to look at some of these comedy ones for a second. Because some of these are kind of weird. Like I never would have expected a few of them to make it. First one being Wonder Man.
Wonder Man. It was a good show. Kind of caught me off guard that it got nominated. But
very good show. Still one of my favorites from this year. I'm not even going to pronounce the actor's name because I'm going to mess that up so bad. But the guy who played Simon got nominated. Great. I did say during that show, I was like, he would be eligible for winning an award. Like I said that he was giving an excellent performance, but I didn't think he would ever get nominated. Glad he's nominated. But, you know, you look at the female category, you do have the girl from The Bear who was nominated. Do you mean to tell me that Jeremy Allen White also isn't going to get nominated? Like, I just don't get it. Because you have Martin Short, who is one half of the dynamic duo in Only Murders in the Building getting nominated. But then you have Steve Martin, who isn't getting nominated. These two make sense, and I never saw them, but I heard that they were great. But Steve Carell getting nominated for Rooster, I heard that show was great, and that makes sense. And I've heard all the rave about Shrinking, so I'm glad Jason Segel is getting nominated. That makes complete sense. Do I think any of them are going to win? I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just going down this list and anthology series. I don't know.
There are so many categories. It's kind of crazy.
Again,
actually,
I kind of checked out again when it comes to all of the Golden Globes, Oscars, and all that. I kind of checked out after Better Call Saul ended because funny enough, Bob Odenkirk went through the same thing that Anthony started, which is he gave 6 performances, or not 6 seasons,
6, yeah,
of Better Call Saul with an incredible standout performance. Everybody's saying he should have been nominated, or he even should have won in some cases, and he was never even nominated once.
And that's shocking because Breaking Bad was critically acclaimed.
And Better Call Saul is critically acclaimed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like it comes from a critically acclaimed show into another critically. I've heard some people say that they prefer Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
and Breaking Bad is typically ranked as like the best show of all time.
Yeah, and so again, it's just like one of those things that I'm like how did we end up getting where we did? But again, this is why I can't watch any of it. I just can't, because it's just really dumb. Okay, this supporting category, actually, sorry, I'm looking at this supporting category, comedy actor category, and that actually makes a lot of sense. I kind of like all of those nominations. That works pretty well.
One of the things that I love about like the Crunchyroll Awards, which is I think a very flawed but probably the closest to, I don't want to say perfect, but it is one of the better award shows in my opinion. Well, actually, the Game Awards I think is a better example. The Game Awards I think is the best award show that's hosted every year, hands down. I think that it is far from perfect, but it is one of, if not the best award show that is hosted. One of the reasons why is, one, the people have a say. They are a small percentage of the vote, but the people do have a say in the awards. But also, a lot of the time, you feel very justified in the nominations. Like, the nominations feel like what deserve the nominations. And even if you have never heard of a game, you know that game is worth playing because it got nominated for a Game Award. Because you know, oh, well, this won last year. Everything that's won every year is almost consistently, like, the actual deserving answer for that award. So if something else is nominated, you're like, oh, if it's at least nominated up against this game that I know and love, it's probably really freaking good. The problem that you have with like the Oscars or the Emmys or something like that is, how am I supposed to know that any of these are actually good? Like, what's that one transgender musical that got nominated for like 26 awards at the Oscars or something like that a few years ago? Like, after that got nominated, like, how am I supposed to trust that any other movie from the Oscars is actually good or deserving of an Oscar if you're gonna nominate dog shit like that?
Look, man, Amelia Perez got nominated.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
And that's not even a quote. Like, that's not even a stance on the political message of the show or of the movie. Make whatever movie you want. Make whatever political message you want. It is just objectively a bad movie. From a construction and acting perspective.
Not even just objectively, but like subjectively, a lot of people weren't really like that big of a fan of it. Like, some people
in the trans and Mexican communities were deeply offended by the movie.
Yeah, and I heard like some people said they liked it, but like very few did. And like, it wasn't like anything that people were like, oh yeah, this is gonna be something that we're gonna ride home about. It's gonna be like, it got nominated. I don't understand it. Look, man, I'm not gonna harken too much more on this, just because it's the Emmys, and again, when the Golden Globes come out, we're gonna have a whole nother thing about this, I'm sure too. When the Oscars come out, this is gonna be bigger. I'm just hoping the Academy kind of wakes up a little bit and just realizes like, hey, Anthony Starr should get nominated before the time for getting nominated for television shows in this year.
That's the problem.
Well, no, because you have the Golden Globes. Golden Globes does television. Not SAG. There's another award ceremony that he could win. And then I know the only one that he can't win is the Oscars, is because that's strictly film. But every other place is television related. But the Emmys is the biggest television, related.
Yeah. And it's one of the other reasons that we're not going line by line is, admittedly, we haven't watched like half the shows that are nominated, because most of the time with the Emmys, it'll be how do I put this nicely? Your general population shows, your shows that your dad throws on NBC at 9 p.m. after work, like. There are some really good shows nominated in there, but at the same time, like, we're not gonna watch, like, when it comes to TV shows, we're a lot more selective than we are with movies. Maybe that's something that'll change in the future. with us being in person, but like when it comes to shows, we exclusively review nerdy shows. When it comes to movies, hell, both movies that were, well, I guess Evil Dead, but the Invite, spoiler alert, we're reviewing The Invite on this episode.
Yeah, surprise.
That's not nerdy at all.
Well, again, we're not. I'm not saying we're not a nerdy podcast anymore.
No.
I feel like it's in our names, and we still like are.
I mean,
that
we're
in
nerds, but we're
personality.
film nerds. We're TV show nerds. We're not
we're
like
much more pop culture, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's where like the Pit is pop culture, the Bear is pop culture, sure, but like if there's something that is bigger in the pop culture, world. Like again, this week was an Evil Dead. I guess Moana would have fit there. We chose Evil Dead over Moana because we didn't want to watch Moana.
I'm gonna make a statement when we get to the intro.
You're
gonna hate me, but I'm gonna make a statement.
I'm about to get to the intro, so you can make your statement whenever you want. But like, I'll watch the Pit. I'll watch the Bear. In fact, there's a lot. I've watched a lot more shows than Brandon has, just on
well, non-anime shows, yes.
non-anime, like live action, like. Not saying anime isn't real acting. Hold on, how do I phrase that horribly? That was phrased horribly.
IRL shows,
IRL shows. I've watched a lot more of those than you have. But like House of the Dragon, Brandon doesn't really want to watch Game of Thrones related things, but we watched it because it's a pop culture related thing. It's like big in the world. I'm not rewatching. I'm watching Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time because I know that's going to be a big pop culture thing when the movie drops. So I need to be caught up on that. So it's just things like that. But again, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, the Oscars, they all suck. Welcome to the absolute worst.
This is the official stance of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. Fuck the award shows. Thank you and good night.
I'm going to say this is plainly and simple. Fuck you, good night. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I am your host this evening, Carson, a.k.a. Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, a.k.a. Parrotfish.
And yeah, a slight change a little bit from what we said we were going to talk about last week, but obviously continuing House of the Dragon, X-Men 97, we're talking about Evil Dead Burn, like we said, and we're also throwing in The Invite, because that got immaculate reviews, and honestly, we were just both like,
we were both going to watch it anyway, and we kind of just...
Might as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, throwing it in there. Brandon has a statement, so I'll kind of compile it together. Brandon, how you doing? Give me your statement.
Outside of my statement, I'm doing well. As of recording this, we are now officially less than a month away, Carson, till I move down to Florida and we record in person.
Huzzah.
I've been car shopping. I've been literally, if you look around my apartment, like you can't tell, I'm like already packing. Like there's stuff and boxes and packing materials everywhere. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve this time. Unlike when I packed for college, when it literally I got to 3 days before I was supposed to move out of my apartment and went, ooh.
Yes, I remember that.
Everything is still set up.
I remember that because I had to move you out of that. That was...
Yeah, Carson came over and helped me move out, and we get there, and it's like everything's nothing is taken down. This time is a little different. I will say nothing's in boxes. Nothing's in packing boxes, but everything's my shelves are mostly empty. My closets have been mostly emptied out other than clothes. Things have been put into their original boxes to then be packed away. We're moving and grooving. Yeah. But I do have a statement. This week, another movie released that we will not be reviewing on the podcast, and I want to give an official statement as to why. Moana live action released this week. It released this week. We will not be reviewing that, and it is unlikely that we will review most, if not any, live-action Disney movies going forward, because Moana came out barely 10 years ago. We do not need, nor do we want, a live-action remake of this. Disney, you're a greedy corporation that is trying to milk money out of children. That is horrible. That is disgusting. It's unnecessary. Also, fuck The Rock's wig. It looks stupid. That's my official statement. That's all I was gonna say.
No, that's kind of fair. But Disney suckers everybody in all mediums and platforms.
As we talk about a Disney property on this episode, by the way, X-Men 97 is
as
Disney.
As we talk about a Disney property, we're suckers. We go to every Marvel property. Some of them might not be good, but some of them are pretty good. So it really just depends.
I know this is gonna sound like a stupid statement to some. There is a difference to me between like a Marvel slop movie and a live action remake of a movie that is one of the better Disney animated princess movies. And you compare, I mean, Moana's technically not a princess. That's the whole like technicality, but whatever. It's a Disney princess movie for the most part that was actually really good. I really enjoyed Moana. I've watched it multiple times. I actually really enjoyed Moana. Never saw the second one because I heard it was not great, and I don't want to ruin my memory of the first one. Nor will I be watching the live action one because I don't want it to ruin my memory. And it's also reviewing terribly. Now, how much of that has to do with quality versus people just hating on it, I don't know, but it's like 33%.
It's funny because there are only 2 live action films that I've seen recently that are remakes and kind of technically remakes. That I'm like, I really enjoy those. The 2013, 2014, I don't remember when it was. The Cinderella movie I thought was outstanding. I thought it was really good. But also it was different because they did change aspects from the original anime classic. They just told the story and it was pretty good. I also liked last year's How to Train Your Dragon. It was incredibly unnecessary, and we both admitted, like, had the original animated movie not been deemed a classic, this live-action movie eventually probably would have been deemed a classic.
Yeah.
Because it's basically a shot-for-shot remake. It's
correct.
Perfectly fine. And honestly, I'm actually kind of excited to see that second one because they did a pretty decent, solid job with the first live-action one.
They did make some changes. Like, Astrid was a huge change. Yes, there was some changes, but a lot of it was very shot-for-shot.
But when it comes to live-action remakes, I don't really have, like, a big anticipation for them because some of them are pretty bad.
Yeah, the only other one that I'd throw on there, and I don't even like love the movie all that much, but the live action Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson,
I have issues with that film, but I certainly don't hate that film either. I think I'm not saying watchable.
It's perfect, but it did give me one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, this isn't even a bit. Like, legitimately, Evermore from that. Like, that's an original song for the live-action Beauty and the Beast. Evermore is one of the best songs ever sung. I love that song with all of my heart. It is, like, I genuinely, like, listen to that to calm down when I'm stressed. Like, that song alone made that movie worth it.
Yeah, and it's different for you because, again, as a theta person, they already had a song.
Beauty and the Beast.
I've performed it multiple times, literally multiple times. That being said, they already had a Beast song in the original musical that they could have easily done in the movie. I get why they didn't because it fits the musical more than it fits the movie, but like, it's so much better than Evermore, which is really funny considering I like Evermore too. Like, I don't hate Evermore, but like, I'm just surprised they never at least attempted to add If I Can't Love Her, because Josh Groban does do a rendition of it along, like, when the movie released, he did a rendition of it. So I was just kind of, taken aback by that. But let's not talk about live action.
Yeah, we got a timer as always. Carson's got to go to Disney, so
it's gonna be great. Yeah, Disney's taking more of my money today. Okay.
I sit here and make a statement. Fuck Disney. Fuck the live action remakes. So we're gonna talk about X-Men '97, and Carson's gonna go to Disneyland after we're done.
And I'm gonna spend some money. Let's talk about House of the Dragon, episode 3. Brandon, go ahead. Give me your quick thoughts.
Yeah. House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 3 is a great episode. I think it's the weakest of the 3 that have come out so far, but it's not like a weak episode. It's just like, you don't have any giant battles or giant moments that really took my breath away. I view it as a calm before the storm episode, which is very ironic because this is a very not calm episode. This is a very stressful episode to watch as Rhaenyra is finally taking the first steps into being the true queen of the Seven Kingdoms. She's having to deal with everything and anything. People are, my sheep. Oh no, my sheep. Oh, you won't acknowledge my sons. Oh, you're not going to get crowned because our gods don't trust you. Oh, we lost a dragon. Oh, this isn't the real sun. Like, there was just things happening constantly. And yet I feel like this is the calmest episode of this season that we're gonna get because they were very clearly building to a lot. This was very much a building to the bigger plot episode. I think one thing, Alicent in this episode was infuriating. Like, Alicent, I genuinely, anytime she was on screen, was, like, enraged because she's so unbelievably entitled. Like, I hate Alicent. Any Alicent supporters, get out of here. We don't support you. Alicent is so unbelievably entitled. You literally usurped the throne and have the gall to throw a tantrum, yeah, shut the fuck up. Shut up. You had literally acknowledged that you were wrong and that your husband didn't actually want your son to be the king or whatever, or like somewhat kind of admitted, realized maybe whatever. And you still feel entitled for like, and also you want to throw a tantrum about your sons? Yeah, Rhaenyra's lost literally almost all of her family. Shut up. Alicent in this episode was infuriating. Not like in bad writing ways, but just like really good but infuriating writing ways. Everything else in this episode, it was great. Writing was great. Again, I feel like there isn't a lot, like, a lot happened, but it's weird because I feel like there's not a lot of meat on the bones to dive deep into with this, because a lot of it was set up for the inevitable battles and conflicts to come. But it was very much a necessary episode to get to those places.
Yeah. Yeah. In a lot of ways, I love this episode. There's not, again, I don't hate anything about this episode. But when you're coming off of a 2-episode stint of one literally being the Battle of the fucking Gullet and the other being Rhaenyra finally taking the throne, you gotta have that kind of, I would say, lull episode, and this is kind of it, but also not, because this episode progresses a lot as far as character development, pushing the story along. Like we were talking about, the thing I didn't want to see happen with this season, similar to season 2, was they slow down so much to the point to where nothing's happening. Things are happening, like things happen in this episode, but there's no big action sequence. There's no big Otto Hightower death. There's no big real event that takes place here. It's all just like, you know, Rhaenyra trying to figure out how to be a ruler. Alicent once again being a bitch. You know, all the things that make such a great TV show. The stuff they do with Daemon. I love the first scene that Daemon has with Ormond. I think it's really good. It's a start, and I just gotta say this because I didn't get a chance to say this with season 3. Holy, the new updated theme mixing into the like Game of Thrones intro, it goes so much harder now. Like I can't believe they found a way to make it better. It's not even like they did all that much. They just made it better. But yeah, I think that like this as an episode is solid, it's great, it's good, got some great acting, but it's not a, you know, oh, you're gonna be glued to the screen the entire time because there's a big death or a reveal. It is simply just a episode to push your plot and character development along to get to what is going to be inevitably a big conflict, a big blowout later on.
Yeah, and when I say that, like, this is the weakest of the 3 episodes that have come out, we're talking about an episode of television last week that I literally said is probably the best episode of television we've gotten all year in a stacked year of television, and another episode which is also up there. So, like, I love this episode. I really enjoyed watching this episode. It was stressful as hell, and there were points in time where I really wanted to just I literally did pause the screen to be like, God, I need a fucking smoke break. Like, I'm stressed out.
Well, before I say anything else, because I'm an idiot and I didn't realize I didn't say this, this goes hand in hand with everything that we're going to talk about today. Spoilers.
Yeah.
We did. None of us caught on to that. We were just like so ready to get into it. So just, you know, if there's not like too much to talk about with House of the Dragon, unfortunately. Like we'll discuss things and whatnot, but like again, there's no shocking revelation, so it's not like, oh, okay, this is a big change. The one
X-Men
big
97.
thing,
on the other hand,
don't. We'll get there. I guess the only big reveal is that Darion is not
a fraud. Yeah. Okay.
So not.
Let's start there. Darion being a fake, so predictable, but also
you could have seen
not
that.
Exactly how I thought it was going to go down. Because here's the thing. I genuinely thought that was a girl the entire time. Like, yes, a lot of the Targaryens have longer hair. It had nothing to do with the longer hair. That's just the softest male face I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I'm like, that looks like a woman. And it did end up being a dude. But, like, I full on thought the reveal was going to be like, that's a daughter or something like that. And I was going to be like, oh. But then they're like, oh, that's not the real son. I was like, oh, okay. I was still right. That's not who they thought it was. Just not exactly how I thought it would
so
go
that was
down.
going to be my only complaint. And again, I've read the book, so I know what's coming. I know exactly what turns are going to happen. So it wasn't ever going to be shocking to me. But even I could tell just watching, I was like, this is going to be way too predictable. And it's not a bad thing. Like, you're following the journey alongside Rhaenyra, and the whole point of this episode was to show the chaoticness of her figuring out how to rule and the literal decisions she needs to make as to, do I kill this person? Do I not kill this person? This, that, whatever. What do I need to make sure I am she wants to
be a benevolent ruler like her father that actually supports the small folk, not someone who goes in like Aemon did and Aegon did and just kind of
but that being said, it drags focus away from the Darien plot line a little bit more because you're focusing on other things. Like, it's talked about, it's in the background, and you have some scenes here and there with those characters and in that storyline, but it's not really like the center focus of the episode because they're trying to, get away from it. But even still, I was like, even that first scene, I was like, okay, that's clearly, obviously not. Like, even I know, I was like, there's like, you don't see a single word to Daemon. You don't, like, you're clearly making it too obvious that this is not the actual person.
Yeah, so well, and right at the very end, and I'm going to be honest, maybe this is just me, it took me a second, I got it in the scene, but it took me a second to realize, and I can't remember if this happened before or after the reveal, but when they were talking about the fact that his dragon was stolen out of the thing, and they were talking about, like, what they were going to do about it, and, like, do they burn down the freaking city or something like that whole conversation, I think, kind of, like, I don't want to say muddied the water, but I guess it just got caught up in the chaos, and maybe that was the purpose of, to show you that things are getting caught up in the chaos, but...
Yeah. It's the chaoticness of it, and so I get it, I understand it, it just makes it hard to actually, like, I would say just, like, not guess the ending a little bit, and it makes it hard to sit through that ending a little bit. Not bad. It's just predictable, so you could see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, next. Oh, you can go next. I was gonna.
No. I just wanted to talk about something that I really liked this episode, and it's just the entire character of Corlys. I've seen a lot of people online get upset at the fact that it's like, oh, it's a complete betrayal of his character. I don't see that. I don't see it as a complete betrayal of his character. I could see why people get upset about him saying the things he's saying so quickly, especially because he only just last episode acknowledged them as his sons. So I could get people getting upset for it maybe being a little rushed, but it's certainly not like a bad choice or completely out of character.
I really liked what they did with his character because here's the thing. People have to remember who are saying like this is out of character. This man has lost almost his entire family. One of his daughters is missing. His only other surviving family, or not daughter, sorry, granddaughters. One of his granddaughters is missing with Sheep Stealer. His other granddaughter is also responsible for Jace's death, sort of, kind of. And then the only other two people, his wife is dead, his son, his daughter are dead. The only other two people are these two guys. So yeah, he pushed them away for decades, but now that he's finally coming back around, like he's a man who has lost his castle, his wealth, and that's why like I love that scene with Rhaenyra, where he's like, I literally gave up everything. My castle sits in ruin to put you on this throne. And she won't even acknowledge his sons. Like, I am so torn on this because I do understand where Rhaenyra is coming from. But at the same time, he brings up some very valid points.
His point's valid in the sense of, okay, holy crap. He has sat by this entire time knowing that Jace, Luke, all of them are bastards. Knowing this entire time they are not legitimate sons. But he never cared about that because he knew what was right and that the goal was right. And in some part of him, after everybody started dying on him and after he lost everybody he cared about, reconnecting with his own bastard sons, would think that Rhaenyra might sympathize a little bit. And not that she doesn't. Rhaenyra does sympathize with it.
Absolutely.
Like, there's nothing cold-blooded. Like, she's not going to do it. But the fact that it's not happening right when he wants it to, especially when it's such a minor thing, too, it's like...
It's difficult because, again, it is minor. Yes, there are very important other things going on that really, for example, I can't remember his name, but the one knight who was like talking to Rhaenyra about like housing and stuff like that. Brother, this is not the time. You are not dead. You have put your queen on the throne, yes, and you deserve to be compensated. Do you not see the world burning around you? Like, that one pissed me off way more than the whole, like, bastard son situation, because that's one where, first of all, he gave up way more to put Rhaenyra on that throne and absolutely deserves compensation. But also, again, like, people saying, like, oh, it's out of character. This man just lost literally everything he's ever held dear to him. His fleet, his men, his money, his home, his family. Everyone's gone, and this is the one thing he has left. Yes, can it wait? Absolutely. But at the same time, he doesn't know. He just almost died in battle and will likely not make it out of this battle alive. He wants to name an heir, and he wants to make sure that he knows there is more battle to come. Everyone knows that this is not over. Rhaenyra can deny it as long as she wants. This battle is not over. He wants to make sure his legacy is protected, because that's, again, we had this whole conversation last season, I believe it was, about the only thing he cares about is his legacy. And this is his only remaining legacy. That is the only thing he cares about.
This is the last thing he has to care about. And because he certainly doesn't care about Rhaenyra and the claim or whatever. He doesn't actually care about any of that. Yeah. But he cares about where he ends up. Which
he cares about himself and the Valerians. That's it.
Well, the Valerians as a family have kind of always cared about that, because they've always been overshadowed by the Targaryens. That's always been the truth. And so even still now, it's like, hey, I put you on the throne. You got it. Great. I'm acknowledging that. I guess I could have taken it for myself or supported Daemon's claim, but I'm giving it to you. At least acknowledge that my bastard sons can be legitimized, because I never once questioned you. And even when my own family member questioned you and got his head cut off for it, you know, you would sit here and maybe at least grant me this, especially because it doesn't take a lot of work either. It's the signing of a couple papers, I'm sure, and that's it.
Well, it's I don't even know if it's the signing of papers. He literally just wants a statement to be made. And I don't think he even needs her to, like, stand on top of the castle. The thing he was offended by was when she knighted his son, she didn't refer to him as Valerian. She didn't institute him as Valerian. That's what upset him. That honestly, if she would have done that, would have been totally fine.
Would have been a different
lot
situation
of this
entirely.
would have been calmed. Now, I understand the politics that go into that, and I'm not saying, here's the thing, like, I understand why Rhaenyra made the decision she did, because her current seating is very rocky, and for one of the first actions she does as queen is to acknowledge bastards when her own sons were questioned as bastards. I understand why she thinks that, but the other perspective is, I think that's the least of her problems, and I think honestly it's something that she could have just done, gotten over with. And here's the other thing. This, in my eyes, would have been the perfect time to do it, because everyone is so distracted about caring about literally everything else that you legitimizing them would have been the least important topic of conversation to literally everyone on the face of the earth. Now, if you wait, that'll be the main focus, and everyone will be zoomed in on you, and waiting for calm is the wrong decision in my mind. I get why she did it, but I think it's the wrong decision.
I liked what they did with this character. For those that are complaining about it, I get it. But also, like, no. On an objective reason, like, as far as, like, oh, well, it kind of rushes the script a little bit, or rushes the plot, or rushes some character development that you would have liked to have lingered a bit more, sure, I get it. But from a subjective standpoint, and what I truly believe, I don't think it matters all that much. I think you're just needlessly complaining about it. Especially when there's more, like, things to complain about.
Let's talk about the actual person we should be complaining about. The worst, most annoying, terrible character that's still remaining alive, Alicent. At least that's was.
No. I'm joking. I'm so joking. Joking.
I should say, Sir Christian Cole still takes the cake as the worst character. Alicent is, after this episode, is gunning for that first place position. My God, talk about entitled. Talk about annoying. Like, again, Sea Serpent can make a very valid argument. He has he has some of the most solid ground to stand on of anyone in this entire show for his standings and his positions. Is he egotistical? Yes. Does he care about the wrong things? Yes. But he has given up literally everyone and everything to put Rhaenyra on this throne. He deserves recognition. He deserves a reward for that.
Yeah.
Alicent, on the other hand, the wicked bitch of the Seven Kingdoms, is over here whining and complaining about her sons. That, look, I get it, she's a mom. I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't love your sons. First of all, one of your sons just made out with you. I want to remind Alicent of that. I want to remind Alicent that she was just sexually assaulted by her own son.
We can bring Eamon back in here if you want and just remind you quickly.
Yeah, we can. Do you really think that your sons will do any better? Because you clearly hate them as well. So I get it. I'm not saying it's an easy decision, but a lot of the things that she was complaining about, like, oh, set us free. You made a deal. The deal's not done. If you cannot acknowledge that, you're being entitled. I'm sorry.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, I understand where Alicent's logic is thinking, because in her mind, in her point of view, and this does make sense, and I get this, and I actually would agree with Alicent on this. What happened and what transpired wasn't her fault. The second time, like she was planning to let her kill Aegon, even Aemon, I guess, if whatever, or I don't remember what the full plan was at this point. I'm kind of blanking.
So Aemon was supposed to be gone. She would come in and kill Aegon. Aemon would probably return, and then, or no, sorry. Aemon was supposed to die on his dragon when they evacuated out of there, and Aegon was supposed to be in the castle and get executed. Part of the plan was the fault of Rhaenyra's dragon riders for not being in the right place at the right time, so that's why Aemon was able to accomplish what he accomplished. But then with Aegon, it was the whisper of the holder of secrets or whatever. I can't remember his name. The Lannister. It was
Larys that.
Yeah, Larys who got him out of there just in time. So none of that is Alicent's fault. I understand that.
Understand it, but still, you can't act so entitled whenever you already messed up a lot of Rhaenyra's claim. You put her through so much with the death of her with Luke.
Two of her sons. She has one remaining son, I believe.
It wasn't even that at first. But you put her through so much already that when you come to her say, hey, this is a for sure plan, I've got this, I've decreed this, just come in and take what you need to take, and then that doesn't go according to plan, yeah, you can expect her to be naturally a little upset. And when she has only killed Otto, somebody who, yes, was a big part of it, but isn't a Targaryen, isn't a last name, who needs to actually die to secure that claim and secure the throne, you better expect you're not going anywhere. You have nothing to stand on.
Here's the thing that Alicent needs to understand. Like, she was throwing a tantrum, like, you killed my father. Does she not understand how the royalty and the crown works? The hand was the representation of the throne at the time. In order to officially take the throne and usurp it, take it rightfully, she needed to kill Otto. And she did. And Alicent needs to understand that okay, Aegon isn't there. She was originally supposed to kill Aegon. Aegon isn't there. The only reason she needed to kill Aegon, though, was because in order to do so, that's what she needed to do to take the throne. Yeah. Aegon isn't there. Otto is. He is the representation of the throne. You kill him, you take the throne. That is how it works.
Yeah.
And she simply, and Rhaenyra's being nice. She should burn, his body should be burned by dragon fire. Actually not even, being burned by dragon fire, not in battle, is, a worthy funeral for someone. That's how the Targaryens want to go out. He deserves to be, thrown in the ocean or something. I don't know. She is being nice by letting a traitor go and be buried with his wife. You have to view it from Rhaenyra's perspective. And again, I get it. Alicent has her own perspective. And I'm not only saying Alicent's perspective is wrong, it's just kind of stupid and annoying.
It's annoying because you can understand where Alicent's coming from, but you understand and justified reasons of why Rhaenyra is the way she is right now too. Yeah. Which makes more sense. Again. So it's annoying. I wouldn't say it's like, oh yeah, this makes her the worst character. I don't think it makes her the worst character. I just think it makes it an annoying situation to be in, is more so what it is.
Well, because again, Alicent is going to sit here and be like, oh, I literally am giving you the lives of my sons and you already killed my father. Need I remind you that Rhaenyra's two oldest sons were also killed by, one of them technically wasn't killed by, killed by a war that was started by your son. One was directly killed by one of your sons. She is... What are we doing here? The eye for an eye makes the world go blind. I don't believe in revenge. From an actual human perspective in real life, revenge is stupid and it's petty and we shouldn't do it. in the world of Game of Thrones speaking, though, like speaking with the way that the politics and the people and the world goes round in Game of Thrones, this is how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I don't really have any other negatives, really. I guess the minor positives, we're reaching the point where it's like, there's nothing to talk about. It's like, okay, great dialogue. Some good cinematography. I already mentioned the shot of Daemon in the very beginning with Ormond. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. I like the scene where Ulf and Adam get knighted.
Yeah.
And whatnot. I like that. But there's not like much more to really dive into beyond those things.
Again, it's so funny. Like, it was a very dense episode, but all of it was set up for the next episode and the next. Like, it was very much a like, here is the calmest, literally, probably my assumption, the calmest episode we're gonna get for the rest of the next. What is this? 5 episodes, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I see a world where episode 4 potentially is also like this episode if they really want to like build more and like make it feel like more impactful, and then episode 5 is like a big blow off. I also see them letting it run wild and building until like an episode 7 and letting that the penultimate episode be a big blow off battle, and then we have one final episode before season 4. I see that potentially happening. Do I want that? No, I actually would very much prefer them to just keep it going, guns blazing, because at this point we're at a point where you need to start hitting a bunch of plot points because you don't want to become season 2, basically.
Well, like, and one of the biggest things that people will say is like, oh, well, you just want big battles and action sequences and stuff like that. Like, that's the only thing you care about. Can you name the big battle that happened last episode? Yeah, Aemon had his dragon invade the castle, and yeah, Daemon went and chopped up a few guards. Other than that, it was very much an emotional episode and dialogue heavy. Like, last episode is an incredible episode of television, not because I watched the Battle of the Gullet, which was a great episode and a great action sequence, but because of everything that led up to, like, Rhaenyra taking the throne, and the acting was incredible. And some of the action was fun, but like, it was that and Otto finally getting, like, all of that stuff was what made that episode great. Again, I'm not saying this episode was bad. I'm just saying, like, I don't need action. I don't need battle. But at the same time, yeah, it's set up. It's not filler. Like, people would be, oh, maybe, like, I don't know if people are complaining about this, but, like, I could see people being like, oh, this is a filler episode. No, it's not. This is an exceedingly important episode. Everything that happened in this episode is extraordinarily important. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the most interesting thing that happened.
Yeah. But overall, good episode.
Yeah.
Good time. Excited for next week, or I guess secondly tomorrow, because that episode will come out tomorrow.
Correct. Next week to review, tomorrow to watch.
Yes. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about X-Men 97. Brandon, go ahead and give me your
quick thoughts. This is episode 4, correct?
Episode 4, Rise of Apocalypse Part 2. Yes.
Yeah. Season 2, Episode 4 of X-Men 97 slaps unreasonably hard. Some of the lines of dialogue in this episode are like quotes that will go down in history books. Like this, I don't even want to say like blown away, because I'm like surprised that X-Men 97 can reach high highs, because it obviously has. But like, this episode solidified this being like one of, if not like, the greatest Marvel things that have ever happened. Charles Xavier making a Yo Mama joke to Apocalypse after killing Magneto is one of the hardest things I've ever witnessed in any Marvel property I've ever watched, and honestly almost any superhero media I've ever watched. The exchange that they had there alone in the desert is like one of the best things that X-Men 97 has done. It was genuinely amazing. A lot of this episode just solidifies Magneto in X-Men 97 being like one of the best characters like in fiction, honestly. He is absolutely incredible. The action sequences were breathtaking and spectacular. I love this inclusion of Kang. That was actually kind of hilarious, where it's just such a like casual inclusion, and then he puts the mask on at the end and then just like looks like Kang, and you're like, that's Kang. It's like, yeah, Ron Matut is Kang. It's one of the more famous Kang variants. Like, I'm not surprised by this, but I honestly wasn't expecting them to like full on name drop him and show like the stereotypical Kang look, and they just did that. They went there. Kang's not going to be the main villain of this season. I don't see him coming back, honestly, the rest of the season, but it makes the world feel so Marvel and so lived in and so real to just have casual inclusions like that when your greater villain, being Apocalypse, is right there and menacing and genuinely a terrifying villain. The celestial inclusion, if I'm not mistaken, and I could get some of this wrong, I believe there are runs of the X-Men where it is found out that the Celestials are the ones who actually implanted the X gene in Apocalypse, leading to the mutant race as a kind of seed to higher evolve the world. So Apocalypse is actually kind of in the right in a way. Obviously, wiping out the human race is a bad thing, but like, this is technically the purpose in which he was created for and what he is meant for. Charles is correct in what should be, but not correct in what is. And like, that whole thing back and forth between the two of them, that's what makes that dialogue sequence so amazing. And throwing Magneto in there, kind of like being the person who was the violent, wipe out all humans character, kind of realizing the error of his ways and being the one to stand up to Apocalypse to such an nth degree, was just such a like emotionally impactful and perfect way to illustrate where everyone stands and where some of them who you think are right technically are wrong, even if you agree with their points. Like, that is just such an interesting and amazing depth to watch unfold. That kick it off to you.
No comment. Magneto is one of the greatest characters in fiction. This episode did so much right. It is heartbreaking. It has beautiful action, great moments with each character. I mean, just so well done. I don't have a single complaint about this episode. This blew my mind because I never thought they'd pull the trigger. Like, here's the thing. When something happens with like a Gambit, it was already mind-blowing. But offing a character who is, unless you're Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, fundamentally the IP of your franchise. That looked much cooler in my head. I have no words. I have no comment, and that of itself should be enough of a review. Just truly. Round of applause. Fuck you, Disney.
Yeah. God, I just like I was in disbelief. I sat in my chair in utter, like, every chance I was like, oh, he's gonna blow up in the thing. They're not gonna blow him up in the wormhole. He's gonna have that whole thing, and then he gets blown by the wormhole, and he's like still breathing there. And I was like, we big chillin'. God, the menacing. They did such an unbelievable job making Apocalypse such an incredibly menacing character, with the footsteps climbing up in the shadows, slowly encroaching on Magneto's limp body, only to pick him up in. Oh my God.
How do you make somebody threatening and it's you have him kill off the character who prior was the most threatening? And it was just so well done. The way Charles has never probably more in that moment felt more hopeless, out of his wheelchair, literally crawling to his friend. And Eric, in a little bit, like, he was limp and he was there, but he was attempting to crawl to Charles in that moment. Like, he was trying to get to him, like, knowing that, you know, it's like the last time, especially after having hope of like, oh, he's alive, he's good. it just shatters your heart. And as somebody who grew up even just watching the films, and I know it's not the same universe, even I can feel a weight just by connecting those dots and like maybe imagining like, oh, it's Fassbender and McAvoy or something. I don't know. It's corny. It's stupid. And I didn't even watch the original, X-Men animated TV series all that much. I watched a few episodes as a kid. I watched a couple storylines here and there, but that was it. They just handled that death so perfectly. I don't think that there's like, and you couldn't have done it any better.
Yeah, like Gambit's death was so. Unfortunately, I think I talked about it when we reviewed last week. I had Gambit's death spoiled for me because I waited so long to watch it. I don't think I told this. You want to know how I got it spoiled for me? I got it spoiled to me by the voice actor of Gambit in X-Men '97 live in person.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, honestly, probably the funniest way you can get something spoiled for you. But. Like, that death was just handled, like, even knowing when it happened, I didn't know how it happened, and watching it unfold, it was just like, name's Gambit, remember, it blows, and, like, and then Rogue and all of that. It's just so, like, I'm tearing up thinking about it, like, what's Rogue gonna do? Like, I did not like the Rogue Magneto romance at all, like, I was really I never really enjoyed that. But thinking about it, like, Rogue has now lost Gambit and Magneto. How, like, she blew up military bases after she lost Gambit. What's she gonna do after losing Magneto?
Like, the speculation of it, I'm trying not to think about it too much, because honestly, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. I don't know. After the death of Magneto, I don't know what kind of story you tell. I don't know where you go.
Well,
I genuinely don't.
I believe next episode is the continuation. I think this is a 3-part thing. I believe this is the continuation of the, like, episode of, like, the Age of Apocalypse or whatever. I highly doubt they're wrapping up Apocalypse next episode. That'd be kind of insane. But did you watch the post-credit scene of this episode?
I'm sure I did. Remind me of what it is again.
Captain America interacting with...
with Wolverine, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was kind of confused about when and where that was happening. I don't know if that's, like, in the past, in the future. Like, I didn't really know, but I do know that I think it's not next episode, but the episode after is titled Project X. So I know they're going there to get... Wolverine his skeleton back and get revenge on the people who wronged him. But in terms of, like, the actual, like, main core story, like, I genuinely don't know where you can go from here. And I love that. I love that I have no idea what they're going to do. Because, like, I watched this episode, Carson, earlier today. I actually watched this episode earlier this morning, so I'm, like, fresh off of this episode. I had zero spoilers. I had no idea going in. I went a whole week without knowing. I don't know what people are talking about. I don't know any speculations. I just know that, like, when I watch this episode, I'm like, sitting in my room in my chair, watching my screen, going, this is one of the best, like, that, again, I keep going back to it, but, like, that sequence of dialogue between Apocalypse and Xavier is, I think, the only thing that might be better is, and I'd need to rewatch it, even though I watched it recently, I'd love to rewatch it again, is the dialogue that Magneto has during episode 2 during the trial. That dialogue is incredible. Like, that is incredible lines of dialogue. Like, this episode is, like, rivaling that, and it is just You crushed Xavier's spirit so much. He insulted you and your mom.
When you get Charles Xavier to drop the honestly good guy act with you, you know you've done some shit. And there you are in for hell. The acting here is top tier across the board from everybody. I already said the action sequences themselves are fun. I love them all using their different unique abilities to try to stop Apocalypse from even getting into the I don't know what it's called, but getting to where he was trying to get to.
The spaceship, yeah. The celestial
ship, whatever.
Spaceship.
It like, that was really It was handled very well. I like the beginning of the episode. I do like how, again, this episode really gives you a lot of hope and then takes it away from you, and it constantly wants to remind you of that. Because even at the beginning of the episode, it's, oh, we're going to work with this guy, with Sabathner, to get, you know, not only the timeline into a perfect spot where it's like, oh, Apocalypse never did a bunch of horrible things, but also get us home, get us back to our timeline. And just finding out the inevitability of it was never going to go that way. Like, this is a pretty much fixed point in time where it's like, oh shoot, he has to become Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like, this is just going to happen. And now, like, rewriting the history, or maybe this is how history naturally is supposed to go, but to literally be to the point to where the X-Men were involved with the creation of Apocalypse. Like, they were there at the literal point of his creation. It's just good writing.
Yeah.
It's fantastic writing all around. And, you know, Charles has a lot of good speeches in this episode. Again, the only complaint, if I have any complaint about this episode, it's the fact that it all as a show still feels very, not episodic. It feels very, what's the term I used last week? I used it like referring to like The Walking Dead, where it's like A, B, C, D storyline telling. It still kind of feels like that a little bit, because we haven't really seen any of the other people altogether. And I'm not going to use that as a complaint, like, for this episode, but like, it's just as like a big picture.
I will say,
you know.
I had a pretty big problem with the way that they did it in season 1. Like, I love season 1. I think season 1 is an incredible season of television. My one complaint is, like, the pacing and the way that they unfolded the story. I will admit, I really hope that next episode isn't the Weapon X episode with Wolverine, because it will repeat the same problem that I had last season, where you killed off Gambit in episode 4, right? Where they killed off Gambit in episode 4, just like they killed off Magneto in episode 4. And then if they skip to the Weapon X episode next episode, like, that I don't like that. I don't love that style of storytelling where you'll go, here's this big monumental thing that you're very emotional about, and here's a little side quest like they did last season where you had Gambit's death, and then you skipped over to like Storm and Forge, which was an interesting arc, but like I just don't.
It feels out of place.
It feels out of place. It throws off the pacing, and yes, that is exactly how the original X-Men animated series did things. But we're talking about, it's been 2 decades since that show was airing.
Correct.
We don't need to tell stories the same way anymore, nor should we.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know, man. I get just overall perfect episode. I'm not gonna rank it like on a like, oh, this is the best episode. It might be.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd say, like, I watched it like maybe 3 hours ago. I'm not gonna sit here and say this is like the best episode they've done, because, like, God, that Gambit episode. I mean, God, episode 2 for me sits even above the Gambit episode. Like, that court scene is like incredible television.
It's really good.
And so,
I would
like,
even say the final like stretch of episodes of season 1, I would say.
Oh yeah. The stuff with Bastion was so good, and the stuff with Magneto against, like, all of that stuff was so good. And then, like, I really thought that, like, I mean, Magneto was going on his redemption arc, and unfortunately, he will not be able to continue it. I
was about to say he kind of cut short. But hey, this is a superhero franchise. Totally could come back at any point. You never know.
So here's my thing. I have heard rumors, and I heard this about Gambit, not necessarily Magneto, but now that I think about it, there's a chance that maybe they'll do this to Magneto as well. I've heard rumors that they're planning on reviving Gambit and making him a servant of Apocalypse, one of the Horsemen.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't do that. I hope. I would love to see Gambit back. I'd love to see Magneto back.
I really hope they do that.
But at the same time, here's the thing, though. Like, one of the things that makes this show so good is the weightiness and the impactfulness of the decisions they make. If you just bring back the only 2 characters that you killed, I don't know. That kind of takes
Well,
away from the impact of that.
no, it doesn't really at all, in my opinion. Because first off, you're not bringing back Magneto. You're only potentially bringing back Gambit, and it's again potential. It's all rumor. But if you do that, you add a lot of stakes and a lot of character to something that's already pre-existing. It's like if okay, this is going to be a horrible example, but in a lot of ways, assuming it goes the way I think, it's kind of how I feel about them bringing back Doctor Doom and bringing back Tony or Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. You know, it's the same actor. We know it's Victor Von Doom, but it's the same actor. And I guess with Gambit's terms, it's Gambit, but it's not our Gambit. It's not the Gambit that we know. It's a different version of this character, and it will just add a lot of, meaningful moments, depth, and it could lead to some really cool ideas, especially if it leads to a point where it's like, this Gambit doesn't get redeemed. Like, he is strictly like an evil version of Gambit serving Apocalypse. He doesn't have any recollection of the X-Men, isn't a part of the X-Men. He will nowhere get anywhere near that. And so it's just like he is fully against them. I think that could be really interesting.
So if they go the direction where it's like a different version of Gambit and he is like doesn't remember the X-Men, he's fighting against the X-Men as like an agent of Apocalypse, and he never gets redeemed and he never like turns good and remembers who he was or what have you, I'd be way more okay with that. My biggest fear is that they're gonna like bring him back to life, or even if it's bringing another version of him, and he's gonna be evil fighting alongside Apocalypse, and then at the end of it all, he's gonna get redeemed and join the X-Men again, and it's gonna be Gambit, and it's all gonna be hunky-dory. I don't want them to go that direction. I very much would hate if they went that direction, because like one of the best things they've done is have the impactfulness of killing Gambit, and that kind of kicking off the chain of events that led to last season and a lot of this season. If you bring him back, you're taking the weight out of that decision, and that just, I don't know, I don't like when shows do that. If they go the direction of the interesting thing where it's a different version of Gambit and he's an agent of Apocalypse and he never remembers who he is and it's just a fight and it gives Rogue some inner conflict, like that could be interesting. I agree.
Again, man, it's all speculation. We'll see what happens. I don't hate that idea, though, admittingly.
Fair enough. How do you feel about Kang? What do you think about them including Kang?
I don't think it's not going to lead to anything. I think it's just a fun nod. Like, oh, shoot, it's Kang. Wow. I think that's just all it is.
Do you think...
It's similar to, like, Spider-Man showing up and Daredevil showing up last season. Like, they're not going to be included in this in any capacity. I just think it was a fun, subtle nod, you know?
So you don't think he'll be, like, a villain next season? You don't think this was, like, a little bit of a sprinkle to set up?
Maybe like, not next. I mean, again, anything's possible, but maybe not next season, because I think that that's something you could build to. But I also don't really recall Kang being just strictly an X-Men villain.
He's not. He's an Avengers villain.
Which is why I don't know if I necessarily like that. What I kind of would want to happen, especially with 97, is eventually, because this is kind of what I've wanted for a while. I would love for them to adapt House of M. And I think it's very possible for them to do that. But I think that you need to include a lot of more things. Like, again, we've got Captain America, we've gotten Black Widow, they're in the show. We've gotten all these heroes that are scattered throughout the universe. So maybe going beyond X-Men 97, you finally start telling some stories that are in the same universe, but it's Avengers or it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I would love... I really want, and I've heard rumors that they're going to be bringing back the 90s Spider-Man in the X-Men 97 style. I would love if they built out you know how DC has their like animated movie universe? I would love to see the X-Men 97 expanded animated universe if they're all this good, obviously. I don't want to sully and turn in, like, be like, oh, we're gonna make it a useless multiverse, because, like, I do love how casual the cameos feel, where it's like, yeah, Captain America can just show up, but he's never a main focus, but I do think it would be very interesting to build out, like, the 90s Spider-Man show, the Avengers show, like, I think that could be interesting, and having some minor crossovers, but never, like, more like the CW. I think if they did, like, the CW style with the way that they did their crossovers... I think that could be pretty interesting. It could work. Yeah.
No, it could work.
But I think House of M, I think we could get there. You'd obviously need to introduce Scarlet Witch being a basically the person for this, and we haven't seen Scarlet Witch at all in at least X-Men 97. So I think that you would need to do a lot to get there. And with Magneto gone now, Magneto is also an important role in House of M. He's actually a very important role in House of M.
He's one of the important characters.
Yeah, so I think that could be interesting. I would love to see an X-Men versus Avengers one day. I think that could be very interesting in X-Men 97. But like, there's
probably would get that first before House of M, admittingly.
Yeah, there's a lot of storylines I'd love to see evolve, but like with what they're doing with the Age of Apocalypse, like,
it's good for now.
Yeah,
good episode, good week. Hurry up and get us another episode so I can, stop twiddling my thumbs and I know how this story goes. Thank you, Disney. Not for Disney. Thank you, Disney.
For us talking about X-Men 97 for like over an hour last week, it feels funny. I think we've been going for like 15 minutes on this episode.
Yeah, but it's also like one episode versus...
Well, and it's...
First off, for you, the entire animated series for the most part, and then season 1 of 97, and then 3 episodes of it. This is literally just one singular episode.
Well, and it is an incredible episode, but it is very funny, because I'm going to be honest... For the first half of this episode, I was like, this is good. This is interesting. It's just kind of set up. They're just walking through the desert. There's a huge montage of them walking through the desert. And yeah, there's obviously the interesting dialogue where Xavier has to go and talk with Samadir, or however you say his name, and basically like tell him the truth about them being time, like, there's all of that stuff that's very interesting, but then, like, most of this episode is that, like, the second half of this episode is that battle with all of the X-Men against Apocalypse, them losing that battle, mainly because Bishop sends them back. The giant black hole, which, mind you, was absolutely epic. I think, like, the only other thing that was, like, I don't want to say the only other thing that was interesting, but, like, other than the big core thing was, like, Bishop in this episode with him, like, kind of, I guess, the irony of Bishop's character in this episode, because literally his entire inclusion in the entirety of the X-Men animated series, both the original and X-Men 97, has been a character whose entire purpose is to time travel and change the future. Or change the past, and then they are trying to change Apocalypse, and he's the one character who's standing there going, don't do this, this is a bad idea. A hypocrite much? Like, your entire character is going into the past and trying to change things to make your life better.
Your entire character is based around the literal... It's fine. Yeah. A little hypocritical, but it's fine. It's Bishop. It's fine.
I kind of found that admittedly a little like irritating. Or I'm just like, oh my god, dude, your entire character is going into the past and making your life better. But the second someone else wants to do the same thing, you're gonna sit here and throw a tantrum about it and break their freaking arm locks. Like, oh my god, like or not break their arm locks, but like, god, it was so. I don't know. It was infuriating. That's why, like, another reason why, like, Magneto was so good this episode is because he was, like, standing up to Bishop and being like, you are literally he called him out for being a hypocrite. He literally stood there and be like, you're a hypocrite. And I was like, yeah, preach, Magneto.
Thank you for saying that, so we don't have plot holes or, just things to get angry about. At least it's said there now.
Yeah, well, like, that's the best thing about X-Men 97, in my opinion, is, like, it feels real. Like, Magneto calling Bishop out for being hypocritical is something I was doing while watching the show, and you'd feel like someone in the show, realistically, would also call him out in real life, but a lot of the time, a show will have something like that, and then not say anything.
Sure.
And the fact that they actually did and they followed through it, like, I really like that. But I know we need to move on. Great episode. Great episode. I also admittedly don't have a ton to say about the last movie we're talking about, so we can go a little longer on some of these.
I'm about to say, it's like the more I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's not like a ton to dive into with any of the stuff today, which is fine considering we have 4 things to talk about, but still it's like, oh, okay. So that being said, let's move on to the next thing. Um, I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are on this. But Brandon, go ahead and talk to me
Yeah,
about The
unfortunately,
Invite.
I kind of know semi what direction you lean on this because of the phone call we had that prompted the review of this. I don't know your
Yeah.
thoughts. I just know that there was a reason you wanted to talk about this when it originally wasn't on the schedule. Again, both a
Yeah.
movie we were both planning on seeing, just not one that was like in the schedule, mainly because I thought that it was releasing 2 weeks from now. And it was actually on the dock. It
Moron.
was on the docket for 2 weeks from now.
Moron.
I will say, very convenient because the week that the invite was, I thought, going to be on is now the week that Avatar The Last Airbender movie is dropping, so it filled the empty space. Um, so yeah, but hyperbole and BS and scheduling behind us. Oh God, where do I start? The Invite is my second favorite movie of the year. The Invite is a hilarious movie. It is the hardest I've laughed in theaters this year. It is also the most, I don't want to say, I feel like I say it's the most shocking movie all the time, but it really was a movie that, admittedly, for half of it, I really thought they were going in a completely different direction. I really thought they were gonna pull a housemaid on us. I fully thought this was gonna, like, they were building up the tension to be like a murder, like these people were like Bonnie and Clyde, like murderers. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's where I thought this movie was going, and it was gonna turn into a thriller. And then they slap you with the orgy, and you're like, oh, this is the direction we're going with this. But then they sit there and hit us with the deep, emotionally impactful monologues and dialogue about love and romance and relationships. At face value, The Invite is my worst enemy because I hate secondhand embarrassment. I really hate uncomfortable situations. I had a huge problem with the drama, not just in its subject matter, but because, like, I hate the secondhand embarrassment that a movie like The Drama brought. This movie, for whatever reason, it's probably just because it's really well written and well acted, and I really resonate with the storyline. I promised Carson I wouldn't get too into it, but I have a lot of personal resonance with the storyline that they were going for with this movie. And so I think just all of that kind of came together to make a movie that, on at face value, I should be like, I don't want to watch this. I'm going to be very uncomfortable. I'm going to hate everything I'm watching here. Also, throw in the fact that I don't like Seth Rogan all that much, and I'm sitting there, and from the get-go, I am laughing so unbelievably hard because every line of dialogue is just delivered with such, like, comedic timing, with just such expert, like, acting, and the performances and the writing is really good, and you're like put at ease. But then I think, like, oh, this is gonna turn into a murder mystery, they're gonna pull a housemaid, and then they're like, so do you actually love each other? And I'm like, I didn't expect to sit here, like, feeling like shit, but I love it. Like, I ate it up. Like, it was such a good experience. My theater was, like, completely sold out. Crowd was loving it, other than one person who said they hated it as they were walking out of the theater. Like, overall, like, The Invite is, like, an absolute must-see. It is my second, only movie above it right now is Obsession. I absolutely love this movie.
I've had a hard time with this. And I literally just did it on my phone. I've been actively doing it as we've been on this podcast, re-putting which one I want on top. The Invite is immaculate. It's incredible. The comedy is outstanding, but the drama aspects that go along with it is so good. The actual core message of this film and the actual core theming behind it is played for jokes and it's played for comedy and it works very well. But then when you really get into the nitty gritty of it and it takes off the cloak, takes off the mask, and shows that it's not just this comedy film. There's stakes, there's drama within it. It's beautiful. Like, I was full on in shock and awe at the end of this film. And I started my review by saying I didn't know which one I wanted on top. And yeah, I'm talking about Obsession. Like, I am going back and forth. I've been going back and forth for days now as to which one I genuinely like more. Because both films, first off, are expertly handled. But there's just something with this film in particular that just makes me sit here and go, damn, that is cinema. That is a film. And of all the actors, I want to give the biggest praise here, because the other three, I'm like, okay, I'd expect great performances out of you. I never in a million years would have expected this from Seth Rogen. And I just want to be honest and say, whereas I still think of the four, he is by far like the most non-dramatic actor in the group. Gives a performance that I think could easily win an Oscar. Not get nominated, easily win. Like, it's outstanding. Olivia Wilde does a good job here. Penelope Cruz, Edward Norton, it's all good. It's only 4 people the entire movie. But the final shot of the film had me in shock and awe, and it literally had me like just in tears. Like that was outstanding. And if you have not seen this film, if you didn't even know it existed, which again, the biggest benefit about this film with me, and I told Brandon this, was didn't even see a trailer for this, not once. I didn't know what this was about. Go to the theaters to watch this as quick as you possibly can. Go to the theaters to watch this and support this film, because this is outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I as I've stated on this podcast before, I give reviews to my friends who don't give a shit, but I do it anyway, whenever I go see movies. And I put in there, I was like, this is, like, I think I've said this literally about 2 movies this year. Obsession and The Invite. I literally said, this is a must-see movie. Like, go see this movie.
I said it about Sheep Detectives. I said it about Project Hail Mary. But I've now pretty much made like the leap of like, okay, yeah, Obsession and Invite are on a whole different tier level than, you know, Project Hail Mary and Sheep Detectives and Hokum. I also liked Hokum a lot too.
Yeah, for me, it was a battle between, and I know this is going to sound stupid, but people have to understand, I have a lot of emotional connection. It was never a battle between Obsession and Invite. Like, for me, I love Invite. And it absolutely is up there. I love Obsession more. I don't like horror movies. So for a horror movie, for me to watch it twice and love it both times, and just like, I've watched every interview with, I love I'm obsessed with Obsession. I still think about that movie to this day. The battle was between Hoppers and this. That was my number 2 for the year was Hoppers, because I have a very deep emotional connection with the story of Hoppers more than a lot of other people. So that was my battle. But like, I made the decision earlier this morning. I was like, no, I can't in good conscience sit here and say that The Invite doesn't deserve the number 2 spot.
I mean, it again, the writing of this film, I want to know how much of the writing was actually like written on the page, on the script, actually like performed in this movie. Yeah. I want to know how much of this is genuinely just like not improvising, but Rogan and Wilde and Norton and Cruz all just kind of like bantering with one another. Because the thing that this film does so impressively, and I think it does actually do it better here than in Obsession, but it's not the point of Obsession, so this isn't knocking it for it. This feels real. Every piece of dialogue feels real. Every argument, every joke, laughter, like it feels like just people hanging out, which is something I think incredibly hard to capture without making it feel like, oh yes, you're just watching a movie. No, this just feels like people just hanging out. It feels like people arguing.
Well, that's mainly because this movie, it proves a point that Hollywood misses a lot, and that is that less is more sometimes. Again, there is 4 people. The only other people other than the 4 people in this movie that you see is legitimately the kids in the band at the start of this movie with the opening scene. That's the only other people you see this entire movie. It is just 4 people in one set piece, a single apartment. That is it. And yet they were able to accomplish so much, because when you give them such tight constraints, but also, again, I would also love to see the difference between what was actually on the page and what was like banter, because it just felt bantery. It felt real. It felt like people having conversations. It felt like I could imagine that this movie was an outline that was handed to the actors and said, run with this. You need to hit the bad relationship, you need to hit the orgy, and you need to hit on like these character traits. Other than that, run with it. And I'm not saying that is exactly how it went, but that's how this movie feels. It doesn't feel overscripted, overwritten, overacted. It feels real.
It feels seamless.
Yeah.
Like there's not a waiver in the script. There's not a tiny piece missing. Like, this feels like, first off, they knew exactly what the story, Olivia Wilde knew exactly what story she wanted to tell, but also just wrote something that, again, feels real. And I think she's done it before with some of her films. I'm not a big fan of Olivia Wilde as a director. I think she's okay. This is by far, I think, her best film by a large margin. But I think that she just puts a lot of love and care into this, almost like she completely understood what the characters were in this film. She understood what the intention was, what type of moment to capture. You just feel it.
Yeah.
In every aspect of this movie. The cinematography of this film is pretty good, but like, you know, it feels simple. It's limited, but it feels simple, but that's fine.
One of the things that I caught on to pretty immediately that I really liked about this movie was that a lot of this movie, actually all of this movie, is still like stagnant cameras. There's no there's no walking with the camera, there's no shaky, there's no nothing. It is a camera sat in a single place. If you're watching someone down a hallway, you're never following them down the hallway. Like, there's no cameraman carrying a camera down a hallway in any shot. If you're watching someone walk down the hallway, you have the camera sat either halfway down the hallway, at the end of the hallway, at the beginning of the hallway, and that's it. You don't have some random third party that we're living vicariously through. No, we're just watching a house. We're watching, like, basically what feels kind of like security cameras a little bit, just with much better quality and angles. But there's no movement. There's nothing like that. It's just they're in the office. Cameras pointed at the office. We might not even be in the office. We're just looking through the door, or we're looking through the glass of the, like, stuff like that was just so well done.
Well, and the shots that I think I love the most are the very first one that's like highlighted on Rogan, sitting in this empty room, empty auditorium, basically full of, I guess, broken dreams that he once had for his life. And you're just watching him, like, clearly this guy does not want to be here, this, that, whatever. Like, I love that shot. And then I love how the ending shot invokes him playing the piano for the first time forever, kind of embracing something that he loves, while at the same time now comes Angela from behind and plays with him.
Well,
puts his head on the shoulder. And the final thought and message of this film, not having the clarity on they are definitely getting back together or they definitely got divorced. So I love that.
Here's my thing. I have a very definitive view on that scene, and I think that's why it hits so hard for me, is I have a very definitive view on what that scene represents. And again, technically this is just interpretation, but I have a feeling this is probably what they were going for, because this is exactly what I read, is he is embracing something new. He is bringing something back into his life that meant so much to him, while at the same time having to say goodbye to something that also once meant so much to him. This isn't like they're gonna get back together. I viewed it as very definitively like they are done. That conversation, there's no getting back together. Him playing the piano is not gonna woo her back. Like, that's not what that scene represents. What that scene represents is him finally being free and having the stress that has been hurting his back. He literally says, like, my back feels better. Letting all of that stress, letting all of that pain go for the first time, and finally re-embracing something important to him, but at the same time equally saying goodbye. to something that at one point in time also meant so much to him.
That's kind of where I'm leaning in the direction, but the other argument, this is why I like the non-clarity of it, because you could also see that scene as, they even Hawk and Pina said it, there needs to be a definitive change, and you need to make the choice to change or have a definitive change. You could also make the argument that they're both going to change, and that's why they play together. He's playing the piano for the first time in years, signifying that there is change in his life. Her playing alongside him, also signifying change. And again, you could take it as either way you want. I don't think there's really a wrong answer, but I would lean the latter that you're kind of spreading, which is where I think it's like them ending on good terms, but at the same time acknowledging like this can't be it.
Yeah,
like, this is over.
Yeah. So pivoting completely off of that, I am very curious. I mentioned in my review, I also watched I watched one trailer in theaters months ago when the first trailer dropped. Other than that, I knew nothing about this movie. I fully thought that they were setting up them, like Hawk and Pina, to be murderers. I fully thought that they were setting them up to be like, oh, that noise that you hear above us is not what you think it is. Especially because of the comments on like, oh, you should replace this window. It isn't fireproof. Like, I thought that like that was setting up to be like we're gonna burn this place down, or we're gonna kill you, or like we're like psychopaths. Because like there was just like there was so much tension that they were building to that I was like, oh, like something's about to go down. I just did not expect it to be, yeah, we got orgies, and then that reference to the window not being we're gonna burn you down, but being I like to watch your wife naked through the window, and that kind of being like to me like a twist like that I didn't see coming. I was like, what?
It throws you through a loop.
I literally laughed out loud and said in theaters when the reveal happened, I literally said, oh my god, this is what we've been building towards. I was like, there's no way. And then they got like the whole steamy sex scene, and you're like, "Oh my god!" I'm about to watch Seth Rogen have sex with a random woman, and then the next big twist and pivot happens, and you're like, "Oh!"
It's a spiral out of control, and it's an enjoyable spiral to watch. Because it's also a lot of uncomfortable humor. This is what I give the movie praise for, is it finds its humor a lot in the uncomfortableness of it all, or the awkwardness of it, and I love that. Because I'm also a big fan of that humor style. I think that humor style is okay. I loved it here. I thought they did it expertly. But it just keeps spiraling out of control with more humor as it gets more ridiculous. The story builds, the literal characters build, and then the final twist of the film literally being that, oh yeah, you've been watching a comedy and it's still got comedy in it. You're going to be sat down for the next 30 minutes puzzling life choices, and you're going to actually think about what this movie has to offer, which is, in my mind, the biggest twist of this film, which is where it's just like, oh, I never expected to gain anything from this.
You literally went from hilarious comedy, literally the hardest I've laughed in theaters this year, definitively. There's an expert comedy, to, oh, we're going with an orgy. Oh, they're swingers. We're gotten, and then they hit us with the dialogue of why he became a swinger. Which, oh my god, best line of the year. Best line of the year was delivered by Seth Rogen this year, and it was delivered as comedy, but at the same time, he's kind of right, where he's like,
yeah.
The moral of the story is you are mad that you didn't bang other people with your wife, so now you're gonna bang other people now that your wife is dead, or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that is literally the moral of this very deep emotional story. Is literally
the moral.
You're upset that you didn't bang other people while married to your wife, so now you're gonna bang other people with your new girlfriend. That's the moral of this story. But then at the same time, like, I love when Pina, like, defends him and is like, hey, you're being disrespectful here, which he is, but at the same time, like, he's not wrong. And even
he's
Hawk's
not wrong,
like,
but it's a bad way of looking at it, because the moral of it is living life to the fullest.
yeah.
when at first you didn't.
Yeah.
And now you have the opportunity to, and he's taking every opportunity he can, although Seth Rogen is right at the,
Well, because it's such an interesting way to deliver an important message when it comes to like life in general, but also relationships, where it's like never become complicit in your own relationship. Always be willing to, like, if you're getting married, the goal is to be together till death do us part. That's literally like the core of marriage. So I'm not a swinger. I'm not married, but I don't ever see myself being a swinger. Weird thing to ever. I never thought I'd say that on the podcast.
I was about to say, if you ever do, I'll stop you. Don't worry.
But it is also an important message where he's recognizing that in the later years he didn't really connect with his wife as she was dying of cancer, and that's a big fundamental regret that he has. And now that she's gone, he had two options. He could either wallow in his loss, which he did for a long time. He literally got suicidal. And then, on the other hand, he met someone else who allowed him to live the life he should have been living the whole time. Which, like, yes, that he should have done that with his wife, but at the same time, like, he's realized the fault of his ways and realizes that he doesn't have that much like, I'm not saying he's, like, dying of cancer like she was, but, like, he only has so much time on this earth, like, might as well just try to live the rest of it to the fullest. Like, I regret my actions. And it's just, again, it's such an interesting angle to take, like, such an important message, because they could have gone something like, she wanted to do pottery class and I didn't want to do pottery. The thing they wanted to go with was, like, swinging, which never should have worked as well and as emotionally resonating as it did, which is why I love the line from Seth Rogen, because, again, I'm sitting there thinking the same thing that he is, going, you're just upset that you didn't bang other people while you were with your wife. That's kind of weird. I'm not shaming that life, but it is kind of weird. And then Seth Rogen being like, that's kind of weird, dude. I'm like, yeah! But it's just like lines of dialogue like that are just like so well done. And another thing that like weird like note is like there was no nudity in a movie centered around sex.
Funny.
Yeah. I know that's kind of a stupid thing to point out, but I actually really think that was like done well, because it's like the lines that were about to be crossed and just everything that like was going on. Like I feel like it was just, they weaved it very well.
I get it, man. I know you want to see Seth Rogen's. You know, I know that you wanted to see Edward Norton, but like, I'm
gonna be honest. I was pretty afraid. I was genuinely pretty afraid that I was about to watch Seth Rogen have sex on screen. Like, genuinely.
Maybe that's also was done tastefully. Maybe in the script it literally said, okay, Joe proceeds to have sex with Pina. Okay, great. It's in the script. And then they were like, oh, we cast Seth Rogen. You're going to hurt your back and fall down. Sorry, Seth, we can't do that to you or to Penelope Cruz. So sorry.
One of the other things that I love about this movie that I think was just like, it was so subtly set up, but it was so well executed, was Pina and Hulk were set up to be like this like deeply in love like couple who will do anything for each other. But then he like corrects her and she explodes in him, and then you realize that like all of that dialogue that was happening in Spanish the entire time wasn't like cute little, like, it was them arguing the whole time. They were just arguing a language you couldn't understand, and it puts a completely different perspective on their relationship and how things were unfolding the entire time, that you're just kind of like, oh, okay.
It's the picture point of, because they're being painted as the perfect couple. That doesn't exist. Everybody fights. But even if you fight, like, the whole point was like, yeah, we fight, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to like look at each other and acknowledge, like, one of you at least acknowledge you're wrong, or support each other, or move on.
Yeah.
If you're not able to do that, and it's just the constant like bickering, like, you know, the way Joe and Angela got, you get what I mean?
Well, because it's I see Pina and Hulk staying together. I think that was like a obviously, it sounded like it had been going on for a while. She was upset at him for correcting her, like, continuously. But, like, that feels like something that they can work through. But it is, like, this is something that can be worked through. The issues that, like, Rogan and Olivia Wilde's characters had, whose character names I don't remember, their arc was sometimes there are things that can't be worked through. It's funny because, like, I obviously said that I sat here and thought that this was going to be like a thriller murder movie for half of it. I should have realized that it wasn't, because this movie opens up with a quote that's like something along the lines of, like, you should never get married, which, like, obviously I don't fully believe in. I have my own opinions on like marriage and stuff like that. I think some people do it way too fast. You know, we're not here to get into my personal family dramas.
We're not getting into that. Right.
But I think, like, that line of dialogue, like, it is kind of interesting, because you have, like, Hawk, who was in a truly deeply loving marriage, at least he, until the end, unfortunately, when they kind of distanced themselves from each other, that like, it is important to kind of realize when things have gone too far. And that's why I feel like that is the message of the movie, is like, you need to like, it is okay to be happy, and sometimes being happy means you're not going to be with this person. Like, if you're unhappy, just leave. That you are a person, you are not the relationship. The relationship is important, but sometimes you have to realize that you are also a person who is, like, that was one of the best things with like Pina talking to Olivia Wilde's character, was like, do you believe you're worthy of love? Like, would you would you have sex with yourself, is the way that it was presented, but it was genuinely like a, do you think you are deserving of this? And if you do think you are deserving of this, and you're not receiving this from where you are, then
yeah,
kind of got to move on.
Look, man, I just think overall, the core message of this film, the heart behind it, the outstanding writing, and just across the board from all four of them, Emmy, Oscar, Golden Globe winning performances from all four of them. Outstanding performances, great chemistry. I think it makes a film that everybody could enjoy and everybody could watch, but also leaves you with something that is deep, it's thought-provoking, and again, I never thought I'd say this about a film in which Seth Rogen stars in, but it potentially rivals Obsession for me, and is potentially my favorite film of the year, genuinely.
Yeah, fair enough. Very funny, very dramatic, very good. Must watch.
Speaking of dramatic and over the topness, and I guess a little bit of comedy. Hey, Brandon, why don't you give us a little history? Give us a little talking talking point about yeah.
I'll give you the history first. I have never seen an Evil Dead movie. This is my first Evil Dead movie. I don't like gory horror movies. I wouldn't even consider this horror. I'd consider this a lot more thriller. I don't love gory movies. Me and Carson have talked about this off podcast. If another, there are movies that we will not review. If a new Terrifier movie comes out, we will not review that. We're not reviewing a new Terrifier movie that is too far. Like, I have a line that is too far. I put my foot down with things, and Carson can tell you, I did not want to watch this movie. I genuinely did not want to watch this movie. I was genuinely, like, dreading it. This is the most I've ever dreaded watching something on the podcast. And Carson calls me up after I watch the movie and asks me, he's like, don't give me a review, don't tell me anything. Just let me know, did I ruin your evening? That's all he cared about. He was like, did I ruin? He was like genuinely sorry after he watched the movie, and he asked me, he's like, did I ruin your evening? And I literally, the answer I kept repeating to him was, we will talk about it on Saturday. I gave him no inkling whatsoever about what my stance was on the movie. I don't even think Carson could get where my stance is on the movie from the ramble that I'm going on now. So that's why I'm going to get into my stance on the movie. Evil Dead Burn is the worst movie I've seen this year. I hated every second of this movie. This movie, genuinely, it ruined my evening. I was so just, I hated it. I almost walked out of the theater. Here's the thing, though. I did not almost walk out of this theater because it was too gory or because I was disgusted and I was going to vomit. No, I almost walked out of this movie because I was bored out of my mind. I never expected to walk into a movie that I was dreading so much because there were going to be people getting chopped in half and faces shoved in other faces, which, yes, was not fun to watch, mind you. I found myself incredibly bored during this movie because it's so generic. It's also so poorly written. There's a line of dialogue in this movie that I genuinely have thought about non-stop since watching this movie. They're pulling up on the house that this movie takes place in, and our main character, whose name I don't give a shit about, the woman, the ex-fiance or wife or whatever, is walking up on the house, or they're driving up to the house, and she's with her brother-in-law, and looks at the house and goes, man, it's been so long since I've been here. And his response to that is like, oh, you've been here before? And she's like, oh yeah, this is where we got married. So you're saying the brother-in-law wasn't at the wedding? Like, the brother-in-law wasn't at the wedding, but that was never something that's just so shit writing. And that's just like a fundamental problem for the entire rest of this movie is like, oh, what's going to be the comedy of this movie? The grandma has dementia and can't. That's such an overthrown plot. It's so boring. Oh, there's an evil family with a secret. Cool. Seen that before. The Deadites were kind of fun. The Deadites were a little funny at times, but most of the time they were just stupid and boring, and it felt very much like a gory shock factor, and they forgot to actually write an interesting or funny movie, because I literally am sitting there going, God, you just made a dumb decision. You just made it. These are the stupidest fucking characters in the goddamn world. They make every bad decision, and half the time it doesn't even feel justified. Sometimes it does. Sometimes I understand why the characters are making the decision, even if it's the dumbest character decision in the world. But most of the time, I'm just sitting there going, why? Cool. Oh, she drops the knife. Oh, she drops the knife again. Oh, fucking do something! It was so boring. It was so disinteresting. Nothing in this movie gripped me at all. I didn't care about literally. Okay, the funeral worker dies in the beginning of this movie. Never comes to him. There's nothing in him. There, he becomes a dad. He doesn't become a dad. None of that matters. Like, nothing in this movie makes sense. Nothing matters. Nothing's well written. It's a gore fest. It's boring. It's stupid. I hated this movie. Sorry to break your heart, Carson, but that's the reason I didn't want to answer your question. Because, yes, it did ruin my evening. I know you're going to disagree with me because I know people are high on this movie as Evil Dead fans, but
They are. They are, in fact, high in this movie.
I'm not an Evil Dead fan. I think this is a shit movie.
They are indeed high on this movie. I love Evil Dead as a franchise. It's my second favorite horror franchise of all time. I think they have some of the most fun, creative, from comedy, just all around. It's a relatively good horror franchise, and it's funny because I hate possessive horror with a passion. It's my least favorite kind. I get freaked out by that pretty easily. The thing I didn't expect going into this film, and I want to start off by saying this in my review, because this did you a disservice, first off. It also did me a disservice because I didn't think that they were going to do it. This is a middle chapter in a trilogy that they are building to a final movie with Evil Dead Wrath. And I knew that it was 3 movies coming out, but I thought they were all 3 individual stories not having anything to do with each other. And so this film does a lot in the setup and the lore department that if you haven't seen an Evil Dead film before, they have to create so that they can finish it in a 3rd movie. And I didn't know that. They never said they were doing that, so I didn't know this was going to be a middle chapter. So they have to introduce the Kandarian dagger again. They needed to, first off, the thing I love about the start of this film was the transition of how the first movie, which you didn't see, Rise, started with a Deadite killing in this cabin outside a lake. I love how the beginning of this movie also factors into the exact same people who were involved in the killings at the lake. I like that they're kind of connecting it there. The post-credit scenes of this film obviously are going to connect to Wrath, and they're setting up a big conclusion. I didn't know that going into this film, so I wasn't exactly expecting to get it. This is by far my least favorite of the Evil Dead films. There's a lot wrong with this film, mostly in the setup. It feels more rushed than any Evil Dead property ever has. You don't get a chance to even connect with the characters, which is the most disservicing thing you can do, because with Rise, you really enjoyed the characters. You got to understand all the characters. You got to understand the motivation, where they came from, this, that, and it created such an interesting horror film that you didn't want to see any of them die. But of course, people have to. It's a Evil Dead film. Here, they give you reasons, but you don't care about them because you only spent 5, maybe even 4 minutes with your characters in the beginning, setting up the death of somebody who's supposed to literally start this film with a car crash. It's very rushed, and unfortunately, it drags the movie down for me as far as its pacing is concerned, because it's funny, this film needs to be longer in some areas, like they need to elongate that beginning, but this is also overly long. This needed to be at least an hour and a half. That you could have cut off 20 minutes of this film and it would have been fine. But the stars of this film are the Deadites, and they're all incredible. This is some of the best Deadite work I think I've seen in Evil Dead films in a long time. They're all really funny. They're all used pretty cleverly. They have the typical tropes that Deadites usually have. It's scary, it's unsettling, it works really well. If you're a fan of Evil Dead as a franchise, you're going to enjoy this, but this is definitely not the film to convince anybody to watch this franchise, because unfortunately, like I said, it's a middle chapter that I didn't know was going to exist. And ultimately building to a third film that, yeah, I guess myself, I'm excited for, but when you have a Last Jedi lackluster middle film into a trilogy that I didn't know was going to be a trilogy, it doesn't exactly bode well for Wrath. So I'll see what they do with it, but it's whatever. I've rambled enough about it. This is not an A-tier movie. It's not even in my top 10. It's not going to reach anywhere near my top 10. It is, I do disagree with you in a lot of ways. It's certainly far from the worst thing I've seen all year, and it's not even anywhere near the bottom tier. Most people would still agree with me on that, but it's certainly, Evil Dead has had a better film before, but I certainly enjoyed myself at the very least.
God, no, I legitimately hated every second of watching this movie, and I was expecting to, like, hate it because of the gore, but, like, every character is, like, okay, so this is something I rambled a lot in my thing just because I was honestly very emotional and admittedly I hated this movie, but, like, you brought it up in your review, and I just, like, want to agree, because this is something, like, not a single character in this movie you give a shit about. At all.
No.
When characters die, you celebrate, but you don't even really celebrate. You just kind of are like, yeah, cool. Good for you. Again, why did the mom kiss the husband? They didn't set that up. It was stupid. I get, she loves her family. She also didn't believe in any of this devil shit to begin with, and then she's proven wrong. Nothing's done with that. They could have done something very interesting with the mom finding out that her grandfather was right this whole time. They never did that, when most of this movie of her character is setting up that she is very against her grandfather. She hates her grandfather because she abandoned the family. Like, none of that was done with, because instead of actually doing anything interesting with the characters, they just had the big battles with gore. That's all it was.
So in the case of the mom, and this is just what Evil Dead is as a franchise, this is what they've always done so well, you're watching her become more and more possessed and go more and more insane as it goes on, but there's still aspects of her there. It's why they don't fully turn her at first, because it's, we want to make sure that we have somebody who can use as a puppet to train and try to get what we need, but you've basically already taken her. So in the case of that, you're watching her go insane. Basically, that's what that whole scene was. So I understood that.
But again,
but even I stood there.
The whole point of her character is not liking her grandfather. I wanted a single line of dialogue being like, my grandfather was right. Oh shit, my entire worldview is crumbling. They never ever did that, when a lot of setup of this movie is her not liking her grandfather and what he stood for and what he represented and what he believed in.
Correct. And again, that's what I'm saying, is the setup of this film is so sloppy and rushed that it just makes, even if the rest of your film, like, in my opinion, acts 2 and 3 of this film are really good. It's classic Evil Dead. They do a great job with setting up the kills and how things are going to go around, and they give the subtle nods, and there's things that you can enjoy from it. And once they get there, it's great. But unfortunately, you made such a mess putting your pieces together that it's just not going to come out right the way you want it to. And I think in the case of this film, with the mom specifically, you don't do enough with that character early on, even though they try to be, throw away what your grandfather did because it's all hokum. It doesn't exist. It's not real. Like, even if they didn't give that line of dialogue to signify that, they still didn't even give enough thought or effort into that it's like, even if they give that line of dialogue, I don't feel like it would feel earned either.
Another thing that was like total bullshit and meant absolutely nothing, mind you, never mattered at all, was the ex-wife or wife or whatever reading the pages in the book. Why was that there? I don't know how any of this happened, even though I read a demonic book and then immediately got attacked. Like, you're a fucking moron! First of all, why would you read that? Second of all, we're shocked. We don't know where any of this is. We don't know what's happening. Did your brain get fucked by stupid? Like, I genuinely don't understand what these characters are doing or thinking. They're idiots.
So, reading the book is fine. It's the fact that they basically turned it into a joke, because the whole idea of reading from the book, that's normal. That's usually how most Evil Dead movies start.
I get it.
Like, I'm not going to make you watch Rise before Wrath, because there's no point.
I know you're just going to
watch
Wrath at this point. Like, I fucking hate it.
You don't really. You might not have much of a choice according to the schedule. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I make the rules. Anyway, in Rise, they read from the book, kind of, not really. They didn't even really read from the book. There was a vinyl tape that played it and said the words, which caused it all to happen. So nobody actually read it. But in this film, the evil's already there.
Exactly.
Like, it's already released in the world, so it's played off as a joke of like, oh, she's reading the world and she's going to create more evil. But again, it doesn't matter.
Well, it was also,
there's no point because it's already there.
It was so disconnected from everything else that happened in this movie. It was literally like it was like a standalone like shot that they did and then forgot that they did it and then threw it in there for funsies, because like it never like it just felt so out of place for everything else. You could have spent that time either doing something else or just not. Why did the last act, like you said, the last act went on for so goddamn long, dude. It was so long.
Again, played for humor is what the book reading was. And again, Evil Dead has that in it, and there's a lot of great humor ones. I'll even say that itself was kind of a funny, it got a chuckle out of me. They're good with comedy when it comes to Evil Dead, but that joke specifically was at the expense of the why. Why did that matter? Because it doesn't hurt me that it happened, but it's also like okay, I guess just for the joke, that's fine, whatever. But it's usually more clever than that. The movie at the end just went on too long. Like, I feel like she could have faced the ex-husband deadite in the house. It didn't have to go all the way back to this site.
The construction site was so stupid. It would have been way more meaningful to go down at the house than a stupid construction site.
It just didn't need to happen there. Like, I'm not upset that they chose to do it, but it's just so unnecessary for the final sequence.
Well, and then you have the jackhammer. Oh, he's finally dead. Oh, he's back. Shut the fuck up and let me leave the goddamn movie.
Okay, well, to be fair, that's you. That's you saying that, because Evil Dead is known for having the over-the-top violence. I will say this. This is the one thing I do want to say. This is by far worse than any of the other Evil Dead movies I've ever seen. Like, this is Scream 7 level. Like, why are you going so over the top? It's unnecessary. Even your previous films have never gone this far. So I want to say that first and foremost.
That scene where he gets his face shoved in the other face was genuinely hard to watch, I will admit. It was the only scene that was hard to watch.
All of the scenes are hard to watch. Like that, but that's what Evil Dead actually does so well. And I want to give the praise where praise is due here. First off, the effects are incredible in this film. God damn, they are incredible. They always do a great job with this. But yeah, uncomfortable is the name of the game with Evil Dead. Some of the cinematography in this film is fantastic. I love the shot.
I hate the cinematography in this movie. I think it's shot terribly. I think they go for that pretentious, stylized look that I hated about the first 28 Years Later movie. It's subjective.
Subjective.
Yeah.
But yes.
I don't like that style of cinematography.
I love the style they chose in this film. I thought it was very gritty, down to earth. I liked it. I love the shot of the ex-husband being at the house as it's burning, and you're literally watching the camera rotate. I thought that was really
that
good.
was a cool shot. I'll give you that. That was a cool shot. There were a lot of terrible shots in this movie. That was pretty cool.
But like, you know, like Evil Dead's known for being a franchise of like, okay, he puts the face in the face, but he doesn't stop there. Like it goes on for like 30 seconds. You're like, please stop, for the love of God, let it end. All three of the people I saw this film with, we were all curled up in balls, just like, my God, what is happening? What are we watching? Again, moments of humor. A lot of things with the grandma was pretty funny. I knew the chair was going to come in at the very end. And I was laughing because she hits the button, she starts going down slowly, and you're just watching this evil Deadite grandma who is overly powered just be so helpless as she's slowly dragged down the stairs. It's really funny.
I hated the grandma, but that's just because the whole, like, throw a character with Alzheimer's in there, it'll be funny type of thing. I think it's overused. I think it's stupid. I think it's generic at this point. I simply didn't find that interesting.
The grandma coming... The one question leaving the actual film itself was what happened with the grandma. Did they not answer that?
She burned in the house.
Just like a misstep? No. You did. Okay, you didn't stay for the post-credits.
Oh, no. Dude, the second the credits rolled, I left the theaters.
So this is how I know that it's the middle chapter of a trilogy, not just based off the first scene. The mom Deadite from the first movie comes back and kills a little girl and starts the haunt there. And then the Nana in this movie passes on the Deadite curse to a person who's just trying to help this random woman crawling in the road. So signifying that Wrath is going to be the final girl from the first movie and the final girl from this movie, probably coming together to stop this evil for good. Because now they have the Kandarian dagger, they know how to stop it. And the first woman, I think, has the actual Necronomicon. I can't remember if the first movie had the actual Necronomicon or not, which is like the actual book of the damned that the whole curse is based off of. So they'll all come together, stop the evil, basically, is what it is. But the post-credit scenes basically set that up, and I that was the biggest question leaving the initial film itself was, okay, were you just not going to answer what happened with the Nana? Because that's completely unresolved. And then you get the post-credit scene with her, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I just assumed she burned in the house. I didn't care enough, though.
Again, I know you didn't care enough.
Look,
we don't have to talk about this more because I know you just didn't like this film.
No, I didn't.
Honestly, even me liking it, there isn't all that much to talk about this film.
I have one more thing to complain about.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
It's a question, but I don't care about the answer.
Then why ask it?
Because I was pissed off in the theater about it, so I want to air my grievances.
Okay, I will answer it.
Did he? I don't give a shit about character names. The brother, the brother-in-law, his character. Did he forget that he got stabbed in the back by a bunch of forks and knives? Because he just started walking around like nothing happened. Brother, literally, that should have killed him or paralyzed him. He falls on the dishwasher, gets stabbed by a bunch of stuff, and you can make the argument that, like, that's when he was turned into a Deadite. When he landed on the thing, he was not a Deadite. In my mind, and this is kind of where the question comes in my mind, he's turned into a Deadite when his face is shoved into the other face. That's when he's turning. That happens after he falls on the dishwasher. Did he just forget that he fell on a bunch of forks and knives and then starts walking around like normal? Or is that supposed to be the explanation that he has turned into a Deadite and that's why he's fine?
Well, you can clearly see from, like, the imagery and how deep it goes. He doesn't get impaled deep.
Yes, he does.
It's not like it goes...
He's full on stabbed with knives in his back, and he is... At the start, he's not pushed that deep, and it could just be, like, pretty painful. He is then sat on top of by a full-ass human being. And it shows that he falls deeper on top of them because the door of the dishwasher falls off and stabs him more. Those go deep.
Even still, after it falls, it doesn't get like it does get deeper. You're right, that would, but they clearly show in the shot, and I remember having that like thought of, wouldn't this just go completely through him? Like it's still not completely through him because they're trying to show that he's still functioning of some kind.
Carson, I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect to you whatsoever. I love you. If I fell on a dishwasher with a full thing of knives and forks, you and I are not standing up and acting like nothing happened. Even if they didn't go that deep. Even if they still went about that deep in your back, and it's not just one knife, it's multiple. If you got stabbed by one knife in the back, you're not walking around like nothing happened, let alone at least fucking 20 forks and 3 knives or whatever I counted. You're not getting up and walking around like nothing happened and taking your shirt off and you're in pain in a lot of it because he stabbed him in the back. That's where all your nerve endings are, Carson. That's where all the pain is.
Nobody said he wasn't in pain. Just because it's not 100% shown, like, oh, he's limping now because of whatever. I'm just throwing a game example. Just because it's not shown doesn't mean it's not happening. That's not real. Also, they go so quickly back into it because it's literally like kills his fiance. It is his fiance, right? Like,
so he killed. Yeah.
Let's say girlfriend. Let's just say that kills his girlfriend, and then he gets like one line of dialogue, and then you get right back into it, and he's already being thrown from place to place.
It's not one line of dialogue, though. It's actually like a good 5 to 10 minute scene where he's talking to the wife before that starts. Because we cut to the mom in the living... So we have the scene in the kitchen, and then we cut to the mom in the dining room, and that happens. Or, sorry, not the dining room. Yeah. We cut to the mom in the bedroom, and that happens. All while they're talking downstairs with the wife or whatever about what to do and what to go on. And then after the husband is let back in and they walk downstairs and they have that, like, that happens a little quickly. But, like, then there's the dialogue there. And then they start getting... There's at least 10 to 15, maybe not 15, about 10 minutes of time. Maybe this guy's just a superhero.
He's not. He's
I'm
still
never
weak.
walking again after I fall on knives like that.
You never see him do anything labor intensive. First off, and also you never see a specific shot of him running freely. Like if he's down, like he's weak, but nothing ever said that he couldn't still at least stand up to move where he needs to move. But most of the time he is sitting down. So I your criticism's there. I get it, but also clearly you're not. I'm not saying you're wrong in a lot of ways, but you're also like...
Well,
again,
it's the same argument
that what everybody else is saying about this film too, man.
I don't give a shit when anyone else says or thinks. I've never given a shit about what anyone else says or thinks. I don't like Toy Story 5 and everyone loves it. I don't give a fuck. But it's also like another thing that if you fight me on, you're stupid. Okay, cool. We killed the guy in the funeral home and I get that the dad was turned into a deadite. Him not saying anything, that's fine. Wouldn't he be covered in blood after that dude got brutally muted? So I'm going to ask any questions. How did he get out of that? Just move on like nothing happened. A dude just brutally got murdered. No one heard it. No one saw. What was that? And then he's just in the car already? Did he teleport? Do Deadites have the ability? Like, what? That was so stupid.
Cool.
I hated this movie, Carson. I'm sorry. I hated this movie.
I'm aware you did. I knew you would, but unfortunately, there was nothing better to talk about. All you had was pop culture. This was literally the only... Not pop culture enough. This was the only thing pop culture enough and relevant. And
X-Men 97 and House of Dragon?
When Wrath rolls around, if nothing else is on that docket, you don't have a choice. It's got to be on there.
No,
sorry,
I do.
buddy.
I will use my I've done enough for you card. That will be my I've done enough for you card. I will save it for them.
Okay. All right, brother. Any final regards? Any final thoughts?
Fuck this
what's
movie.
Next week?
Carson?
Oh, never mind. I know what next week is.
Carson.
Yeah.
Next week. You know. Audience knows. I'll let you say it.
Motherfucking Odyssey.
Next week, we review my most anticipated movie of the year. And is it yours? Is it your most anticipated?
It's one of.
Do you have a number one? Because this is easily my number one.
I don't know. I'd actually have to think about it. Michael was probably it, objectively.
Okay. That's fair.
Michael probably was it.
I am more anticipating The Odyssey than Brand New Day or Doomsday, and I am the biggest Spider-Man fan, so that should tell you something.
Let's see what all the hubbub's about online with people saying things.
I'm avoiding it like the plague. I've heard a little bit, but I'm trying to avoid it.
it's just needless complaining like usual. But yes, Odyssey next week. Excited. Got tickets. Look forward to that.
Obviously, House of the Dragon and X-Men 97.
Yeah, all this typical stuff. Any other thoughts, my friend?
We watched my second favorite movie of the year this week, and my definitive least favorite. I put this below The Bride, below The Draw. I hated. This is the least favorite movie of the year this week. So, interesting week.
Yeah, that's great, bud. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching. Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, give us a like, give us a follow, hit that little bell notification. It'll let you know when we upload. We try to upload every single Sunday on time for you guys to enjoy. You can find us on all podcast hosting platforms. You name it, we're on it. Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. Trust me, you'll find us. You can also find a lot of our short form content that Brandon loves to post, which is mostly a lot of anime and a few things here and there for myself, which I'm going to start getting back into as well. You can find us on all social media platforms with our short form content under @Nerdy Nimrods. Nerdy Nimrods Clips is our clips channel, so if you want to come back and show somebody what our actual podcast is about before giving them a full episode, show us some of our clips. It's pretty fun. Got a lot of fun things uploaded on there. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been this week. Next week will be next week. As always, stay nerdy.